Hello and welcome to my channel, and welcome to a chilly December morning here in Devon. And I woke up this morning and saw that it was a really beautiful morning. Don't know whether you can see behind me, but it was so beautiful that I decided I needed to go out for a quick walk and give you a quick update on what's been going on over the last week or so. So sorry if I'm looking a bit rough. I haven't had a chance to make myself look better yet. Haven't even had breakfast. But these early morning walks, I think, can be really good for you and can help you get off to a good start to the day. So yep, hope you'll join me for this nice little stroll, some beautiful scenery and a few interesting little updates. After my last video, someone left a comment asking me how I managed to get some focus and narrow down my options in terms of where we live. This was because I mentioned that before choosing Devon, we'd looked at Portugal, Italy, France, Spain, and other parts of the UK as well. And it was a good question, got me thinking really. First of all, the exploring was part of my life journey, you know. It was this travelling around all these different countries, having lengthy holidays in Portugal in particular, is not something I regret. It was, you know, we had a lot of fun, it was very interesting, and I've developed a very deep connection with some of these places as a result. It became part of my identity and part of my life story, exploring Europe and living in Europe and being an expat or being an immigrant, because we were at the time living in Germany and we were looking for somewhere to move to next after I finished work. When I think about it, I think we finally settled on Devon for a number of reasons. One is financial constraints. So the dream of living somewhere like Portugal was partly fueled by the thought that that was one of the few places where we might actually be able to afford to buy the house that we wanted. And over the years that turned out to be a bit of a fallacy really. Cheap houses in Portugal, well yes, you can get a really good bargain, but they tend to be in the very rural locations. So if you want to be a homesteader who, you know, I don't know, renovates an old farm and works the land and becomes self-sufficient, then yeah, there are some great opportunities out in Portugal, I think. And for a while that was what we thought we wanted. But I started to get a bit more realistic about that. You know, I'm getting a little bit older now, but digging gardens all day long, every day of the week, is something I would really struggle with. And living in a remote place where we don't speak the language would not give us the sense of community that we were looking for. Of course, the house prices are even worse here. So it wasn't all about money. I think there were some other things that we started to become clearer about over time. And maybe there's a couple of things there that I would mention that are related. Oh, isn't it lovely here? So I ought to talk about the second and third things really. So mental health, physical health. So let's start with mental health. I have at times struggled with my mental health. I guess most of us do in one way or another. But there was one thing I noticed that was almost guaranteed to make me feel depressed, and that is dealing with bureaucracy. So I wondered to myself, well, why would bureaucracy make me feel depressed? And I came up with a number of reasons. Well, first of all, filling in forms and dealing with these organisations and institutions isn't the most purposeful and meaningful way of spending your day, I don't think. So I find it all a bit monotonous, a bit soul destroying, really. But there's more to it than that. It's not just that it's boring. I think first of all, these organisations tend to be inefficient. So you can ask a question that you need an answer on, and it will take weeks or even months to get a response. And sometimes you have to ask multiple people in order to get to the question, in order to get to the answer you want. And added to that, their customer services is normally really poor, especially in Germany, where my German is not very good. So I'll spend hours on the phone trying to contact someone. When I talk to them, the discussion's very difficult anyway because of my language skills, which leads on to the next point. I think people like the tax authorities, they ask questions and it's yes or no answers they're expecting. And my life's a bit more complicated than that. So I often find myself filling in these forms, but then having to handwrite explanatory notes because I'm not completely sure the answer I'm giving is the right one. Which maybe leads to another thing, and that is often when you're dealing with these organisations, there is an underlying threat. And that is, if you make a mistake, if you get something wrong, you might get a fine or even worse. And so that adds some pressure to the situation that I don't like. And so all of these factors, the inefficiency, the sheer amount of administration that's needed, the poor customer service and support, means I often procrastinate. So I put off doing the things I know need doing, and then that prolongs the agony. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying that I don't like bureaucracy, and I know I'm going to have to put up with that in Germany and the UK. But I started to question whether I really want to add another country to my list of organisations that I need to deal with, because I understand that places like Portugal and France and Spain have similar issues. I guess all countries do, really. It's not easy dealing with banks and tax authorities and so on. And so that was, I'm an adventurous person, and I don't think that's a reason for not doing something. But I guess I've just been going through a phase in my life where I thought, do I really want that kind of hassle of dealing with that? Especially when I don't speak a word of Portuguese. Do I really want to put myself through that? So that was one contributing factor. Then related to that, I would say, I said about physical health. When I got into my 50s, I started to become much more aware of my own mortality. You lose people along the way. You just are. I think probably everyone realises that life is short. You see the years flying by. And related to bureaucracy and related to this idea of living somewhere remote, I thought if anything ever happens to me, I really don't want to leave my wife with all the problems that she would be left with if we were in some remote Portuguese location, dealing with all the bureaucracy, living there on her own, or having to organise to sell up and move back to England, for example. I didn't want to leave her with that problem. So that was another factor. And I know it's a little bit of a negative one because, well, you know, life's for living and you take your chances and so on. But for some reason that crept into my mind more and more, and I wanted to live somewhere where I could tie up all the loose ends and leave things in good shape so should something happen. Okay, I've walked quite a long way now and because I'm using the equipment, I've got no gloves on and my hands are really cold. I think it's about 3 degrees above freezing at the moment, which is probably why we've got such a beautiful blue sky, so I shouldn't complain. But I think I'm going to start heading back now. Okay, so then a couple of other things to talk about. I hope this isn't too depressing for you, because it's not meant to be. But anyway, this next topic might just be a bit, and then I'll finish on a more positive, upbeat note. So, as if to confirm that we did the right thing moving to England, as I was leaving Germany, and if you look at one of my earlier videos, I think it's about the third video I made as I was walking along the Rhine. I'll put the link in the description. But I said that in my last few months in Germany, I was arranging a lot of health checks to get myself in good shape before I leave Germany, because I'd heard all these problems about the struggling NHS and I wasn't sure how quickly it would take to get me into the system either. So I had all sorts of checkups, but one I had was for my prostate, and I found out just as I was leaving Germany that my PSA levels are too high. So I think that stands for PSA, prostate specific antigen, I think it stands for. And for a man my age, it should be less than 4, and mine was over 6. And so obviously I was rather concerned about that. And I had some conversations with doctors in Germany and with my new GP in the UK. I did a second test in Germany because one of the reasons the first test might have been high was that I did the test the day after a weekend of hiking and running. So again, another video for you to look at. I went on this really challenging hike through the upper middle Rhine region, so through this beautiful gorge. I recommend you watch that video. Actually, it's some beautiful scenery. The day before that I went on something like a 12-kilometer run, and then on the Monday straight afterwards in the morning I had my test, and the doctor said that could have elevated my PSA reading. So we arranged a second one, and that was still high. So I talked to the GP here. They wanted to do their own test, and the one in the UK also showed that my level is too high. So that now means I've got to have an MRI scan, hoping to have it this week. I say hoping because my wife's just gone down with flu and I can feel myself fighting those germs, and I'm not sure whether I'd be able to go and have that if I've got the flu. But anyway, all being well, I'll take the test this week. But obviously that has caused some angst. My family are worried about it and I'm a little bit worried about it. Don't know what the outcome is going to be. It might be nothing. You never know with these things. But of course, you know, it could be cancer. And I was trying to avoid that thought, but I looked on the NHS app that shows all your medical records, and it had the term, the doctor had written the term in there, suspected cancer. So I need to get that checked out, find out what's going on there. But do you know what? As well as the obvious underlying worry, I also have this real sense of relief because of the things I told you earlier. I am relieved that we're back here in England, because already after just a short time I already know that we have something of a support system here, if that's the right word for it, right phrase. So there's a community of people here who I know would be supportive to me and my wife should there be some bad news around this. And we also are much closer to our daughter now. So in 1 month, my daughter's already visited 3 times. So we've got her too. She's already been here telling me what changes I need to make to my diet. So I've had to give up chocolate and beer and wine. I'm drinking green tea and I don't know, all sorts of changes. That really has, as I say, made me grateful for the fact that we've managed to sort all these things out. We've gone through this massive process of moving country, and here we are in this beautiful place with the most wonderful community you could wish for. Perhaps I'll talk a little bit about that to end on a positive note. So far, apart from the friendly people you just meet in the hairdressers, in the pub, in the shops, you know, that just seems like all the people are really friendly. But in addition to that, there's two things. One is the church, and the other is an organisation called U3A. So with the church, I mean, I cautiously, I would say, went to church thinking, oh, I'll give it a try. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to get involved in all of that. I'm still unsure of my own sort of spirituality. Still consider myself to be at a fairly early stage in my spiritual journey. But I went along with my wife, and I discovered the most warm and friendly and welcoming congregation you could wish to meet. Just all these wonderful people. Very quickly I had found myself volunteering at a craft fair, which was really good. Met some nice people, it was interesting. Felt I was making a contribution. Then on Sunday I was asked to do a reading at a candlelit service. So that was absolutely beautiful, you know. It was almost evening, so the sun was just setting, so the stained glass windows were looking beautiful. They switched all the lights out inside the church, so there were only candles and the Christmas tree and the lights on the Christmas tree. So it's this very calming, soothing environment. It was almost full. My daughter, my wife, my daughter's boyfriend were there, so I was really pleased to have them at my side. And I read out this fairly long passage actually, and I was a little bit apprehensive before I did it. I've never done anything like that before, but I enjoyed it, and it made me feel part of something very special. Then through the church we got introduced to another organisation called the U3A. So that is the third age, I think it's called, and it might have originally been called the University of the Third Age. It's a UK-wide organisation, and they have a local branch here in our town. And they offer all sorts of things for people who are retired. So I've joined a German speaking group, I've joined a book club, I'm thinking of joining a writing club, my wife's joined an art club, there's cold swimming clubs, there must be about 30 or 40 of these different clubs you can join. You just pay one membership fee to U3A for the whole year, and then I make little donations to the individual clubs each time I go, but it's not much money at all. So the German group is the one I've attended so far. My book club is later this week. But the German club, it was just wonderful. All these people, I thought I would be the only person here who'd lived in Germany, but I discovered all these people who had lived there. One was German, and we had so much in common, and they were able to talk to me even about my worries about tax, you know. But mainly it was just that we were a bunch of like-minded people. It gave me a chance to practice my German, and I felt so lucky and so grateful. And I'm looking forward to joining the book club this week as well. They've already given us a book to read, which I've started, and I'm really excited about that. So yeah, altogether, I feel more deeply connected with this town after just living here for just 1 or 2 months than I have anywhere else in a very long time, and I feel very lucky, very grateful. And despite these concerns over my PSA levels, I feel like I'm in the right place. I'm in the place where I want to be in this final chapter of my life, and yeah, it's wonderful. So feeling very good about things. Okay, so I think that's it. I hope you didn't find this episode too depressing. It wasn't meant to be. It's actually meant to be a beautiful early morning walk, which I think it is, as you can see. I hope you're well wherever you are. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your December, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks then. Bye.